Let me ask you something. Have you ever stopped to really think about your own sexuality? Not just what turns you on, not just what feels good in the moment, but the deeper question, what is this doing to you? We live in a world where pleasure is always within reach. One tap, one swipe, one quick decision, and it's yours. And on the surface it feels harmless, even healthy. We tell ourselves, it's just a release, it's natural, it helps me relax. But what if it's not as harmless as it seems? What if that very release, the one you chase so often, is actually draining something essential from you? I'm talking about your energy, your drive, your life force. Carl Jung didn't speak lightly about this. He believed that what we do with our energy, our libido in psychological terms, determines the trajectory of our life. And I don't mean libido in the shallow modern sense of just sexual appetite. Jung saw libido as the total psychic energy that fuels who you are, your creativity, your ambition, your emotional resilience, your sense of meaning. Now imagine what happens when that energy is constantly being emptied. Every time you give in to an urge without thinking, every time you seek a quick hit of pleasure, you're not just releasing tension, you're releasing the very fuel that could have been used for something greater. And most of the time, you don't even notice it. You feel tired, unmotivated, uninspired, but you never connect it to the act that left you feeling good for just a few seconds. Think about it. How many times have you felt empty after pleasure? How many times have you promised yourself you'd stop, only to do it again a few hours later? It's like you're stuck in a loop. Pleasure, guilt, relief, then a strange kind of sadness, a desire to be free, followed by another surrender. It's not just you, it's most people. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. You've been taught to see this cycle as normal, as harmless, even as self-care. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You might be participating in your own weakening. You might be giving away your strength and not even realizing it. Now, this isn't about shame. It's not about pretending you're above your biology. It's about waking up. It's about recognizing what's really at stake when you constantly give in to your impulses. Because the real danger isn't in the act itself, it's in what it represents. A life ruled by impulse is a life without direction. A man who can't say no to himself will never be taken seriously by the world. His words lose weight. His presence fades. His confidence becomes hollow. Look around. You can see it everywhere. People moving through life like ghosts. Eyes glazed over. No real purpose. No fire. Addicted to dopamine. Starved of meaning. Now think of the opposite. Think of the man who's mastered himself. He doesn't need to talk loudly. He doesn't need to show off. He doesn't need to be constantly entertained. He holds something within himself, a kind of quiet power. You can feel it when he walks into the room. You don't know what it is exactly, but you feel drawn to it, respect it, maybe even envy it. And that's the point. That energy, that magnetic pull, is not something you're born with. It's something that builds, slowly, over time, through discipline, through intentional choices, through saying no to the things that pull you downward and yes to the things that lift you up. When you stop being a slave to your urges, something strange starts to happen. You begin to feel calm, focused, grounded. You stop chasing, you stop reacting, and suddenly the world starts responding to you in a different way. But this isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's about becoming solid, rooted, whole. And here's what Jung would say. The shadow, the part of you that acts in secret, that pulls you toward things you know are slowly eroding you, that shadow grows stronger the more you ignore it. The more you pretend you're in control while constantly giving in to momentary desires, the more control your shadow actually gains. It whispers to you, just once more, you deserve it. No one has to know. But with each surrender, the voice gets louder, until you don't know where the urge ends and you begin. And that's when you realize you're not in control, not of your time, not of your mind, not of your life. You've given your power to something that doesn't care about you, an algorithm, a fantasy, a false sense of relief. You've made yourself available to every passing desire, every fleeting emotion, every shallow form of stimulation. And the cost? Your depth, your direction, your discipline, what you could have built, what you could have become, all sacrificed on the altar of convenience. Now I want to make something clear. This isn't a moral judgment. This isn't about purity or repression. This is about power. It's about reclaiming the energy that has been leaking from you, day after day, without your awareness. It's about taking full ownership of your choices, your body, your mind. Because every time you say no to a low impulse, you say yes to something higher, something stronger, something real. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. You'll feel restless, agitated, maybe even angry. But that's not a sign that something's wrong. That's the withdrawal of the old self. That's the beginning of your evolution. The truth is, most people are terrified of facing themselves without distractions, without a screen, without a hit of pleasure, without that familiar cycle to keep them numb. Because when the noise dies down, all that's left is you. And if you've never met yourself in silence, it's going to feel like staring into a void. But stay with it. Look deeper. Don't run. That discomfort you feel, that's your unused potential calling out to you. That's your energy trying to return home. This is what Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." You've been told that your urges are just part of who you are, that giving in is healthy, that there's no harm in indulging. But what if that's a lie? What if you've been programmed to stay weak, to stay distracted, to stay dependent? Because let's be honest, weak people are easier to sell to, easier to control, easier to ignore. But when you reclaim your energy, when you stop giving it away for free, you become dangerous in the best way possible. You stop chasing and start building. You stop reacting and start creating. You stop consuming and start becoming. Not everyone will understand this path. That's okay. Most people will keep seeking quick highs. Most will stay asleep. But you're waking up. And this, right now, might be the moment it all starts to change. Let's continue with the truth that most people are too afraid to face. The longer you feed your impulses, the stronger they become. Until eventually, they become you. Not just habits, not just passing thoughts, but the silent rulers of your life. Invisible tyrants that drive your decisions, influence your moods, and steal your clarity, all while you tell yourself you're in control. But let me ask you, what does control even mean if you're always reacting? Jung understood this deeply. People who are emotionally and spiritually exhausted are not inherently weak. They are simply misdirected. Their energy has been leaking into holes they don't even know exist. And when your energy is scattered, when your spirit is tired, do you know what happens? You become vulnerable, not just physically, not just mentally, but existentially. You start operating at a lower frequency, and whether you believe in energy or not, others feel it. Those who understand human psychology, whether they're marketers, media executives, or manipulators, can smell that weakness. They don't need to attack you, they just have to trigger you. A headline, a thumbnail, a flash of skin, a fantasy, and you react. Without question, without thought, without resistance. They know you haven't learned how to guard your energy, that you're always reaching, always chasing, always available to the next hit of stimulation. But here's what Jung said: a healthy psyche doesn't just discharge energy every time it builds up. A healthy psyche contains energy. It stores it, harnesses it, uses it for something meaningful. That means saying no to impulses without guilt, withholding your sexual energy without feeling weak or repressed, observing your urges like a scientist, not acting on them blindly. Because real power, deep, transformative power, comes not from getting what you want the moment you want it. It comes from choosing how and when to express your force. Let's be honest, how many hours have you lost because your mind was clouded by desire? How many times have you sat down to create something, only to be distracted by a fantasy or a quick dopamine fix? How often have you felt that strange emptiness after indulging in a sexual release, realizing you're right back where you started, or worse? This is what it means to be drained without return. You're not being nourished, you're being used. And worse, you're feeding patterns that only exist because you keep feeding them. Psychic energy is like a force field. When it's intact, people feel it. You walk into a room and you don't need to say a word. People sense that you are someone to be respected, someone with weight, with presence. But when you're constantly discharging that energy, especially through unconscious compulsive sexual habits, you lose that presence. You become invisible, reactive, fragile. And let me be blunt, the world has no mercy for people who give away their power that easily. So what do? You start watching, not judging, not hating yourself, just observing what triggers you, what makes you reach for that easy escape, what emotions are you avoiding through that release, because those are the places where your energy is leaking out, and those are the places you need to start working, not to become cold, not to suppress who you are, but to become selective, to become sovereign, because right now, you probably think you're making conscious choices about your sexuality, but most of your behaviors, they're not conscious at all, they're programmed, and those who profit from your programming, they know this. They've built entire industries on it. You don't need to be convinced or forced into anything. All they need to do is keep the right buttons exposed, keep the stimuli flowing, keep your nervous system addicted to the next release. You think it's freedom, but it's not. Jung called this projection. It's the psychological process where you offload unconscious material onto something external, and then you act based on what's been projected. It works both ways. You see something provocative online. You think it's about them, but it's not. It's about you, your unresolved patterns, your hidden longings, your discomfort with yourself. And while industries project these hypersexual images at you, you become the receiver, the open door. The more you respond, the more you train your nervous system to stay reactive, to stay shallow, to stay dependent. And here's the catch. You don't even need to feel pleasure anymore. Just the anticipation of it keeps the cycle alive. That moment when you catch yourself opening the same websites again, scrolling social media, hoping for a flash of something arousing. That tiny pulse of interest in your body, it's not a decision, it's a program. And the more you follow it, the more it controls you. But why do we obey these programs? Simple. We're afraid of discomfort. We're terrified of sitting with the raw emotions that rise when we don't seek relief. We're afraid of boredom, silence, stillness. So we run into fantasies, into stimulation, into predictable patterns of escape. This is how manipulation works in the modern world. Not through violence, not through overt control, but through craving, through your own impulses. Because as long as you keep reacting, the system doesn't need to do anything else. You're running the loop on your own. But here's the breakthrough. The moment you stop reacting, everything changes. When you start saying no, even when it's hard, when you sit with the tension instead of discharging it, when you observe the urge without feeding it, something inside you shifts, the projection shatters, the cycle weakens, and you begin to regain control, not just of your behavior, but of your mind. And that is dangerous, because now you're not profitable anymore, you're not predictable, you're not exploitable, and the world doesn't like that, because your strength, your containment, exposes something they don't want you to see, the voice of your authentic self, the power that comes from within, not from stimulation, not from approval, not from fantasy, but from you. Carl Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's exactly what happens when you withdraw from compulsive behavior. The shadow emerges. All the emotions you've avoided, the fears you've buried, the truths you've never spoken, they rise to the surface. And yes, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, it can even feel unbearable, especially if, for most of your life, sexuality has been a way to escape. But here's the question. Are you ready to face it? Are you ready to feel that discomfort fully, without running? Are you ready to not soothe the pain with the same cycle? Because right there, in the middle of the withdrawal, the longing, the inner chaos, is the seed of something powerful. A new will, a new clarity, a new self. The world is loud, fast, hypersexualized. It constantly pulls at you, tempts you, drains you. Everyone is told to gratify every urge, to escape every hard feeling, to respond to everything that stimulates them. But there's a different kind of power, one that's almost forgotten. It's the power of containment, not repression, not denial, but conscious, intentional, razor-sharp containment of your energy. This is the power that reshapes your life. Jung didn't view containment as restriction. He saw it as transformation. When you stop leaking your energy through unconscious impulses, something begins to shift. You gain awareness, not just of your behaviors, but of what drives them. You begin to notice the emotional triggers, the psychological discomfort you've always tried to outrun, the invisible fears that push you toward escape disguised as pleasure. Containment brings you face to face with these inner forces, And for the first time, you see how your biology has been hijacked, how the industries that surround you have mastered the science of stimulation, how perfectly they can light up your nervous system with a well-placed image or sound. They don't care about you, they don't even know you. What they want is simple: your attention, your time, your life force. And the more reactive you are, the easier it is for them to win. While you discharge your energy, they collect data. While you indulge, they profit. While you grow weaker, their systems grow stronger. This is not about conspiracy. It's about clarity. It's about refusing to be farmed for your impulses. Because real containment is not about denying your sexuality. It's about mastering it, not being dragged around by it, not becoming a puppet to chemical cravings and old conditioning. True containment is the conscious decision to stop participating in the theft of your own power. Jung taught that the process of individuation, becoming who you truly are, requires distance, not isolation from others, but space from what distracts you from yourself. And that space, that sacred container, it only opens when you stop pouring your energy into holes. But be warned, this choice comes with consequences. You will lose the quick pleasures that others chase so eagerly. You will confuse people. They won't understand your calm, your discipline, your refusal to engage in every dopamine loop. They may call you cold, or obsessed, or strange, but that's not a sign of failure. It's proof that you're doing something rare, because most people are not trying to master themselves. They're just trying to make the cravings more comfortable. But you're different now. You understand something most people don't. Every discharge of your energy is a transaction, a withdrawal, a seed you spend, and not every impulse deserves your attention, let alone your essence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Sometimes containment isn't deprivation, it's sovereignty. It's standing at the doorway of your own energy and deciding who gets in, what gets in, if anything gets in. Because here's the truth, if you understand all of this intellectually, but still give in to every urge, it means nothing. Awareness without action is just another layer of self-deception. The change only begins when you decide, truly decide, to become selective with your power. This isn't about shame. This isn't about fear. This is about becoming unavailable to every system, person, or program that exists to drain you. And that starts with the small moments. When a sexual trigger appears and you pause instead of react. When you breathe through the urge instead of feeding it. When you close the app, walk away from the screen, turn off the device, without guilt, without hesitation. When you say, "Not today. I choose strength. I choose clarity. I choose me." And here's something else. You don't need to explain your choice to anyone. You don't owe justification for your discipline. You don't owe validation for your growth. You owe only your highest self, the version of you that exists beyond cravings, beyond programming, beyond distraction. Jung knew that the journey to the real self was full of shedding, but not a shedding into indulgence, a shedding from indulgence, a sacred letting go of what numbs, what drains, what distracts. This is a season of inner rebuilding, a time when you stop building your identity from what you consume and begin shaping it from what you retain. You want to know a true measure of growth? Watch what changes when you practice containment. Your mind begins to clear. Your energy starts to stabilize. Your presence becomes undeniable and perhaps more revealing. Watch who starts to resist your growth. Watch who tries to pull you back into the old loops, into the old patterns, into the old you. That resistance is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're changing, that you've stopped participating in your own diminishment. But make no mistake, being contained is not easy at first. It's like walking through fire. Your nervous system will scream. You'll feel deprived. You'll tell yourself you're being too hard on yourself. But this is not punishment. It's recovery. Recovery from years of conditioning, from a lifetime of being trained to obey every impulse, to react instantly, to discharge the moment tension appears. So yes, it hurts. But that hurt is not a sign to quit. It's a sign you're beginning to heal. Conscious containment is the foundation of self-determination. When you say no to compulsive release, you're not rejecting pleasure. You're saying yes to a different future, one where you are present for your own life, where your choices are not reactions, but creations. And something else happens. When you stop explaining yourself, you start being respected, even if that respect comes slowly. even if, at first, it comes only from yourself. Not everyone is ready for that kind of strength. Your discipline will be uncomfortable for people still ruled by their urges. Your presence will expose the noise in others. Your silence will trigger their inner chaos. That's okay. Let it. This is the separation. And separation is the birth of selfhood. It's the moment you stop being shaped by the world and begin shaping yourself. It's the moment you reclaim your identity, not as a slave to reaction, but as a force of creation. When you're no longer discharging your energy into compulsive sexuality, something profound happens. First, discomfort. The tension rises. Your body aches for relief. You question your choice. But if you stay with it, something else comes. Power. Not the loud, flashy kind, but the deep, magnetic kind. The kind that lives in your breath, in your eyes, in your calm refusal to betray yourself. This power is presence. It's clarity where there used to be fog. It's direction where there used to be chaos. It's strength, not from domination, but from containment. And in that stillness, you'll finally understand. Those urges never owned you. They only borrowed your energy with your permission. You were never weak. You were just leaking. But now you're sealing the cracks. Now you're redirecting your energy. Now you're becoming whole. This is not just healing. This is rebirth. The beginning of a life where you are no longer available for unconscious drainage, for systems that profit from your depletion, for pleasures that cost your power. You're no longer being consumed, you're becoming. Now you've arrived at a threshold. If you've stayed with this message, truly stayed, it means there's a part of you that's already awake, a deeper self that has felt the truth pulsing behind every word. You're not here for surface-level advice. You're not here to be told what you already know. You're here because some part of you is done with wasting energy, done with being controlled, done with living beneath your potential while pretending it's freedom. And here's the shift. You no longer say yes to what drains you. You only accept what builds your power, your clarity, your wholeness. You're not here to negotiate with your old self. You're here to outgrow it. And maybe, just maybe, you've already felt it happening. The discomfort that used to feel unbearable now feels like fuel. The urge that used to control you now becomes a test, one you can pass, one you can win. This is what reclaiming your life force looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, but steady, relentless, quietly revolutionary. You're no longer discharging energy for a few seconds of pleasure that leave you empty. You're building, gathering, centering, and it shows in your decisions, in your gaze, in your very presence, because presence is the real sign of power, not noise, not bravado, stillness, the kind of stillness that makes people wonder what you know, what you've seen, what you're becoming. Let's be honest. This path is not for everyone. Some will mock you, some will misunderstand, some will project their own discomfort onto you just to protect their illusion of freedom, and that's okay. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become undeniable. That means being willing to walk alone, if necessary, to say no to what everyone else says yes to guard your power when others give it away. Because here's the truth that few ever realize. The man who protects his energy becomes the man who shapes his destiny. It starts by choosing not to escape, not to numb, not to pacify every discomfort with distraction. It's about facing the emptiness and realizing it was never empty at all. It was full of unused power, of silence, of depth, of you, the self you've never met because you were too busy running from him. But now you stand still and you face him, and finally you begin to become him. The world wants you disoriented, reactive, addicted to the cycle, because when you're always seeking, you never arrive. When you're always consuming, you never create. But you're ready for something else now. You're ready to become dangerous, not because you dominate others, but because you no longer betray yourself.